No regrets with our team. I thought our guys played so hard today. Not everything was perfect by no means, but it'll take some time. We'll get over this and come back next year ready to go.
Welcome to another episode of the Stig Niner Empire podcast. As we all know by now, sadly, we did not win this game. But truth be told, we had multiple opportunities to win, gentlemen. When you count everything that went against us, from that muffed kick, losing GreenLaw early in the game, I think that completely changed the complexity of the game. Ortiz, how do you think that affected us? Because one of the things I really thought coming into this game, I thought we could put Kurt Warner on Kelsey, and what I wanted to do is give over the top help from Jair Brown, if you remember my texts from a few weeks ago. I thought that would work. That worked absolutely perfect for one quarter until we lost GreenLaw, because now we didn't have our run stuffer up in the middle. I honestly feel, Ortiz, if he doesn't get hurt in this game, this is a different game, honestly.
Yeah, losing Dre GreenLaw was a big that was a big blow. I mean, that was second quarter, I think, and it was nothing that had to do with football. He was literally just jogging onto the field, looked like he was amped up on the sideline. They showed the actual footage of when it happened, and it looked like he just took a couple steps, buckled to the ground, and from there on in, it was Oren Burks who had to step up and take his role. I didn't think he played horrible. I think they did take advantage of him at times with Kelsey in the second half, and more so in the fourth quarter and in overtime. But for the most part, we pretty much kept Kelsey in check most of the game. Even after Greenlaw went down, you could see Kelsey's frustration. I mean, he went at it to Andy Reid and bumped him and yelled at him. And it's like, why am I not on the field?
If you mind me intruding here, he only had. I'm gonna respectfully completely disagree with you, because he had 9 catches on Burks himself, and he had about 128 yards all on Burks.
But most of the catches,
he had 1 catch.
Yeah, but when were most of the catches?
Really changed it.
When were most of the catches?
After the second quarter.
Went down. The bulk of the catches were late in the fourth quarter on the drives where they tied it up at the end of the game.
We shut him out for a quarter. That's why he was upset.
What type of defense were we running? Was it man on man or was it a zone?
I believe we were doing a hybrid. We're really doing a hybrid.
So I can maybe point to 1 or 2 plays where I'm like, all right, Burks probably could have been a little tighter in coverage. It was maybe his zone, but I don't think they were manning him up the same way that Greenlaw was. Yeah, you want to have your best players on the field. Greenlaw is obviously one of the best players on the team, one of the best linebackers in the league, and you want him there. You know, the reason Oren Burks is a backup or the third best linebacker on the team is because, you know, Warner and Greenlaw, they're all pro type caliber linebackers. But I don't think they really took advantage of him as much as they took advantage of the defense that Steve Wilks was putting out there, especially late in the game. And
we stopped
ultimately that, as we found out today, that cost Steve Wilks his job. I think how he played the Chiefs in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter after we went up, and then in overtime after we went up, it was ultimately his demise. I know. What do you think, Luke? Like, do you think?
I think that after
the scheme, not the players.
I think he just was never a good fit. Sorry, I lost my voice a little bit, but if the offensive coordinator / head coach is telling you what plays to run as a defensive coordinator, I'm sure that's uncomfortable. And I think that, he probably wasn't able to do what he wanted to do here. It just maybe it doesn't mean he's a bad coach. I think he's going to fit in somewhere else better. And maybe he wanted to be in the booth, and maybe he had to kind of suck it up and come on the sidelines, and maybe he never was happy with that. But towards the end of that game, you could tell that Shanahan was pissed. Like, what are you doing? That's not what you should be calling. And if you're
blitzing Mahomes is not the answer on most plays. You can do it once in a while, just as a change of pacing in the right situation and the right time. I don't think when the game is on the line, Patrick Mahomes has a 3rd and 4 or a 4th and 6, something like that, you can't blitz them on those plays. You have to confuse them with coverage. You have to bring guys to the line in scrimmage, create confusion on the offensive line so they don't know who's coming, who's not coming, and then back up into some type of 7 to 8 man coverage and just let those 3 or 4 down linemen take care of the rest. I mean, they were getting to the quarterback. They were frustrating Patrick Mahomes for most of the game. They were getting pressure on him. Chase Young had the game of the season in the Super Bowl. Thank you for finally showing up, Chase Young. Bosa was
Bosa
doing
and
his thing.
Armstead were lights out. They were
Hargrave,
great.
Armstead, they were all playing.
Everyone showed up.
We went out and got Wilkes even more talent towards the end of the season, right? We've got edge rushers that we already had a lot of talent. So I think that with what he had to deal with, I mean, we're going to be a good defense no matter what, one of the best. But now I think it's unfortunate that he was only there for one season because you want him to gel more with the players but Bill Belichick comes in next week for an interview, and we'll get the right person in there, and it'll be a better fit, and we'll be back. I think there's so many little things that happened in that Super Bowl game that would have produced a Niner win. There's just little things here and there. One pass to Ayuk, you can't punt the ball 3 times in the 3rd quarter and expect to win the game. I mean, really, that's huge. That's their defense playing really well because Brock Purdy was unable to create when he really needed to. It was a Super Bowl, and
Too
they
much
were
pressure.
covering well.
Too much pressure in the second half. I think
They're covering well. And Spagnuolo just got we fired our guy, and they just gave their guy an extension. So that just tells you right there, Spagnuolo just got a big extension. So I think he's the best. I think we need to get a better defensive coordinator, and I think we'll be right back there, and we'll finally get that ring for Shanahan. But it was just unfortunate. There's so many little things that could happen differently, and we would have won the game. The fumble in the beginning of the game, and that's huge. CMC. I mean, I don't fault him, but it happens. It's football. But that's also.
I mean, he holds
huge.
on to the ball
99.9%
of the time, right? Like he's a guy that I think up until that point he fumbled once or twice this season and has gone seasons without fumbling the ball. So
if we score on that drive, guys, we win the game. So
remember the movie Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events? That's what it was. I mean, it was just a fumble here, a muff punt there, a bad bounce there. I mean, we didn't take advantage of the 5 fumbles, the 5 bounces right to you. I mean, you're fortunate. And good teams take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. I don't feel like we
never
took advantage of the opportunities. When the Chiefs were struggling to
mattered.
Right.
They did one time when it mattered. We gave them a free touchdown, guys.
So the Chiefs struggled to do anything. They had no running game. Their offense was stalling. We're getting 3 and outs, and we weren't answering. We weren't adding to the lead, or we weren't creating a lead in the first quarter. We should have been up by 2 touchdowns, but instead we fumbled a successful drive in the first quarter, and then we had 2 big penalties by Trent Williams, who this might have been his worst game of the season, guys. Like I mean, he still blocked well for the most part, but just in terms of mistakes, two penalties in a row back to back to kill a drive in the first quarter was big. I mean, we could have been up 2 touchdowns. I think the Chiefs were shell shocked and they were ready to be beat in the first quarter, and we just kept them in the game.
And I believe it was in maybe
would be our demise.
Sorry, I think it was the 3rd quarter. We had a drive that started at the 44-yard line. I mean, we had
after the interception.
Yeah,
and we tried to hit a big play with Ayuk.
Yeah,
and then I think there was a pitch to McCaffrey that was unsuccessful, and then I think it was a 3rd down play to Debo that was, closely contested. He wasn't really open. Looked like he was a little hurt. I think he popped his hamstring and maybe took a shot to numb the pain, but he wasn't 100%. I don't think George Kittle was 100%. And even if he was being kept in the block because we needed him to help out with the protection because the offensive line wasn't doing a good job.
And at the end in overtime, we all know Ayuk was wide open on that play that they had great pressure. That was their defense playing really well. Brock didn't have time to see him, but he was wide open for the touchdown pass.
You're talking about the Chris Jones play where he just went right through him?
To settle for a field goal, I don't even like it. Like I almost would have went for it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Somebody missed their assignment on that play because Chris Jones just ran straight.
this is the Super Bowl. We can't just settle for a field goal. They're the Chiefs, and they have Patrick Mahomes licking his chops to get the ball back, and that's what happened. I mean, that's too bad. It's unfortunate.
Most likely, it was, from what I've heard and what I've read, it was most likely Burford's guy, and he probably had rules that he knows. All right, this play I have to block this gap, and they probably didn't see the defensive front against that play that when they practice it.
Yeah.
So there was confusion. I mean, that's what we do to other teams. We present opportunities for confusion, and that's what happened to him. He chose the wrong guy to block. That guy was probably going or looping around, I think, kind of followed the defender to the left when he should have just stayed in front of Chris Jones. And you know, that happens. You'd be surprised how often that happens, and a play can still be successful. Sometimes you just have to have a quarterback, you know, make a play on his feet, like get fake the ball, get the defender to jump up, and then scramble and hit somebody that's open. We've seen Patrick Mahomes do that. We've seen Patrick Mahomes get out of, for sure, sacks. You know, guys would wrap him around, and he would just wiggle out of it and scramble and hit a guy. And maybe Brock should have done something like that, but then again, you know, there's always a possibility that he gets sacked and he fumbles the ball, or he gets stripped trying to get out of it. So
yeah, and we were not really converting.
Damned if you do, damned if you
downs,
don't. He threw the ball away because that's all he had the opportunity to do. He thought that was the best decision, and that's, you know, ultimately we got points on that drive, which was very important. If our defense holds on the next series against the Chiefs, we're the Super Bowl champs, but we couldn't do it.
So I think that, Phil, just real quick to go back to the third quarter, if you have 3 and outs, that's 3, 6, 9 plays in one quarter, and your defense is starting to get tired. I think that's a huge point of emphasis, that we should have been converting on third downs. We had to find a way to get some production in that third quarter.
They're a good team. They have players that make millions of dollars too. They have all-pro players on their team. We were trying to make plays. We were trying to hit Ayuk in the end zone. We missed. We tried to hit Debo in the end zone. We missed.
Yeah.
The protection wasn't great.
Downfield, it just wasn't working out.
Yeah, and you take advantage of the front that they were showing. They were daring us to throw the ball. So Cal's like, all right, I'm gonna try to hit some big plays, and we were just a little bit off, or maybe their defense was a little clingy and they were getting away with some holding and some grabbing. You know, it's the Super Bowl. They're not going to call that. We probably did the same thing on our side. So, you know, I don't think Debo was creating any type of space against his guy with the bum hamstring. And Brandon Ayuk was going against Ladarius Sneed. He's one of the best corners in the league. He's gonna get paid a huge contract next season because he's proven he's an all-pro talent.
Let's hope he wants
it. Very
good,
good.
because he looked really upset at the end of that game. I mean, I hope so. Of course, he probably does, but seeing the tears in his eyes at the end there, it made me think, like, is he gonna want out? I mean, that would be really awful, but we'll see.
Well, he's under contract next season. We picked up his option. They can extend him, and I think he's kind of, you know, doing a little bit of what Debo did his contract extension year, where he's going to sit out, or he's going to threaten to sit out. And he's going to have his friends and his family talk to the media, or talk through social media, and just kind of allude to, you know, maybe it's time to move on. Maybe we'll take our talents somewhere else and be appreciated here. It's just posturing for a better contract. And the Niners are they really value Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
They didn't invest a first-round draft pick into him.
He's so good.
To have him leave after his first contract. Kinlaw's going to be gone because he just didn't produce. He wasn't worthy of a second contract unless he wants to come back for cheap and be a backup, because that's all he is. He's a backup in my eyes.
Yeah.
Ayuk is a star. He's an all-pro wide receiver. You don't let all-pro wide receivers go unless somebody gives you an offer you can't refuse. But I just don't think we're going to get that kind of offer.
So I mentioned Bill Belichick, but I want to know, who do you guys like for a replacement for Wilkes?
It might be someone that they've already interviewed from the last ordeal where we had to go out and get someone. The Jets secondary coach, I think, is a guy we interviewed.
You got to be realistic. I think it's going to be somebody younger. I think it's somebody that's familiar with this system. The thing is, Steve Wilkes wasn't coming in to run his defense. He was coming to run Kyle's defense.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a coordinator and you come in, you kind of want to run your defensive show and show people what you think it will work instead of having somebody pull your puppet string. I mean,
So I don't think Kyle makes this move this fast unless he already knows exactly who he's going to hire, and I think it's going to be internal. I'm guessing it's one of the linebacker or defensive back coaches, and I think that announcement's going to be made pretty soon. I think within a week we'll know. Somebody that's already a coach on the team, probably one of the position coaches, is going to be elevated. They know the system. They were brought in. They probably came in as like an assistant linebacker or assistant DB coach, and were elevated when other guys were promoted or hired on as head coaches elsewhere. So I don't think we're going to look outside the locker room. I think we're going to stick with the guys that we have.
we also
There might be
lost our
some new.
running back coach, guys. He's
Chris Forster.
yeah, he's
not Chris Forster. Bobby Turner.
He's moving on.
Well, he was gone. He wasn't really the coach this year. He was more of a consultant.
Oh, okay. So we already have that covered.
Yeah. We're good there. I mean, does Christian McCaffrey need a coach? He's kind of his own. I mean, honestly, like who's going to make him better than he already is?
Well,
Gentlemen,
that's debatable.
Gentlemen, where do you see holes?
Yeah, I mean, offensive player of the year, scored a touchdown almost every game.
We need someone to coach the depth behind him too, in case he gets hurt, right?
Does Elijah Mitchell need a coach? I mean, I thought he played great this year in the opportunity that he had.
Yeah,
he didn't get much run in this game, and the one good run that he had, George Kittle was out of the game, so they put in the rookie. Oh man, what is his name? I can't even think of his name, but he had a huge penalty in the game that negated an Elijah Mitchell first down.
Moving forward, gentlemen, what are other things that we can do to improve the team? I mean, we have the draft coming up. We got 11, I believe we have 11 picks this year. I think edge rusher is a necessity. I don't think they're going to sign Chase Young again, especially since they have to pay Ayuk if they want to keep him. Getting another linebacker, unless they think Winters. I'm kind of worried because I drafted Winters fairly high just a year ago, and I'm not really seeing much of him. If they tell me that Burks is better, I'm kind of a little worried about that. So that tells me we may have to go out and get another linebacker. I don't expect GreenLaw to be rushed back, so I don't see him playing till much later in the year. I don't think they're going to put him out there in September, honestly. I think September for him is going to be like what training camp would have been. You know what I mean? And he's vital to this defense. We all know this. We do get Ufunga back, which is absolutely fantastic. We have a huge need at right guard, right tackle. I wouldn't mind if they just redo the entire side of the right line. We may lose Jawan Jennings because someone else out there is going to offer him more money. And I like the guy. He fits in so perfectly with what we do. Where do you
guys? Is he a free agent though? Do you know that he's a free agent?
He needs to get paid this year. Yeah, because he was like a 7th round pick. He only has a 3-year contract. He's done.
Do you know that for sure?
Yeah, he's done.
Because Brock is he was a 7th round pick and he's on a 4-year contract. So I could be wrong, but I think he's under contract.
He was a 7th or 6th.
We should double back to that.
Well, he was a 7th. We'll get back to that, but I'm reading everywhere that he's probably gone after this year.
Oh man, that's too bad.
That's what I'm reading everywhere. I don't know what the difference. Maybe they just didn't give him.
I mean, he definitely showed this season that he's a valuable player on the team as a blocker, as a difference maker on third downs and in the red zone. I mean, that was a huge touchdown catch to go up ahead after the Chiefs took the lead in the third quarter. I would love to have him back.
A lot of people say the Niners are going to probably go for a receiver that could possibly fill in for Ayuk should Ayuk hold out. So we're looking for a number 3 receiver. And if we are looking for number 3, you need to let it be a guy with huge upside. That's what I was reading earlier today. So I have a feeling we might lose him soon. I don't know. Someone's going to offer him money at some point. And I can't really blame him for going.
So I don't think D-line is necessarily a necessity early. I kind of want to use a first or second round pick on an offense lineman or another weapon or a receiver,
I agree.
maybe even a really good pass catching tight end to, take the reins from Kittle whenever he decides to hang him up and become a professional wrestler. He's not getting any younger, and like teams have shown, like having two really good tight ends who can pass catch and block is a winning formula. Like you go back to when who was it? It was the Patriots had Aaron
Hernandez.
Hernandez and Gronkowski.
Sick.
It was
No, we
a
drafted
lethal
two guys
combination.
last year. That's another thing that worries me too. We drafted two tight ends last year. None of them look like they're really panning out.
Yeah. Or when the Eagles had Zach Ertz and Goddard on the same team for
That's
about
right.
a year or two.
And I just realized one of those tight ends was the third round, right? We drafted a tight end in the third round, and he hasn't done anything. And now, mind you, he was really a defensive end for most of his college career. He played a different position.
Was it
So he's a
Latu?
bit He's an experimental player.
The tight end from Alabama.
Yeah, I know what school he came to, but he's a project tight end. That's what he is.
Okay.
He's a project.
So,
we're trying to
offensive line would be my biggest concern. Right guard.
I think
right
that's
tackle,
where we go, man. The thing is, we need that, and we're gonna need another edge rusher. You don't get those guys in the late rounds. That's the thing. You don't get those defensive ends in the late rounds.
You usually don't get quarterbacks in the late rounds, but you know what?
That's true, man.
We've found guys that can fill that role. I think GreenLaw is going to be back by October. I have a good feeling about it. Will he be
okay
exactly as he was?
For you,
what's that?
I have a question. So, Mike, would you go best available player, or would you go with a certain position for your first pick next year? Because you guys are more into. So, like, what if there's a really good corner? Would you take a corner?
We never take a corner. They're always kind of like.
I would like to see them draft a corner.
I think
Because if we draft a cornerback, I do like that idea too. Because if you do, then you can put Lenore back at nickel.
Yeah.
What do you think,
I'm
Mike?
probably going with edge rusher or right tackle, best available out of those two. And I'm probably doing that for the first two picks, unless like a special guy falls or something like that.
I'd be happy with an offensive lineman or a corner, to be honest.
I'm trying to get value because they have such a great team that have depth everywhere. Well, they don't have depth everywhere, but they have great players all around the team. I'm trying to get the best value for the positions that you need. That's what I'm trying to do.
Did you guys see the Mel Kiper mock draft today? He had some offensive tackle from Georgia, 6'7", 360 pound, used to be a tight end before being converted to an offensive lineman.
Wow.
That's a sexy pick right there. I mean, that guy's
okay.
He's a massive human being. There might be some issues with knees and backs and stuff, but if he's, let's say he's Jonathan Ogden.
You got me thinking now, Ortiz, because actually you just reminded me of something. This year's draft is supposed to be like the best drafted years when it comes to offensive linemen. You're going to be able to get offensive linemen all the way in the 5th round. I think about that.
Gotcha. Well, we'll see what we do. It'd be interesting. The draft's in about, let's say, 3 to 4 months from now in late April.
Rice Jr.'s in the draft too. Don't think I'm not looking at him. He just had his best year ever in college. Little Jerry Rice Jr. I may want that guy. Jr. He's got good physical skills, man. He just hasn't.
What school is he coming from?
I'm not too much of a college guy. I did see some of the film on him though. He's been coming on very, very strong in his final year. He's rated as a top 100 pick now. A lot of people are putting him in the top 100, where a year ago he was nowhere near that. So he just had his best season just this last year. He's bulking up, getting faster. Physically, his skills have just like gone another level. So he's an interesting prospect. Let's leave it at that. If you could get him in the later round, that could be a steal. Yeah. He's probably got an amazing work ethic.
And guys, we're getting Hufanga back next year. Is he going to be as good as he was his first 2 years? We'll have to wait and see, but that's going to be a big addition. So now you have Hufanga back at one of the safety positions, probably going to be Jair Brown at the other, and I think we're going to have to cut ties with
Gibson.
Tayshaun
Gibson wants to
Gibson, yeah,
retire
Tayshaun
anyway.
Gibson.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
love to have him
he's
back though. He's a good leader.
he's on the older side.
Yeah.
I think he was
35 next year.
responsible for the busted coverage on the first touchdown pass after the muff punt. I think I heard this could be someone else's responsibility, but I think he was the guy that was supposed to be covering the secondary when they caught that touchdown pass in the second half of the game.
Yeah. We'll
Not
see.
sure.
He's been good for them, and maybe
He's
we'll
been good.
put him back
He's
on
all-
the practice squad or pick him up mid-season.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, just keep him in your back pocket in case
Yeah.
somebody goes down. But I like Hufanga. I love Jair Brown. He had a huge interception of the
He's
game. I
good.
thought that was going to be the deciding big play of the game that
Oh,
gave us the victory, but wasn't to be. I thought he played well. He had a little I think he had a
Gave him one big
stinger
pass.
tackling Kelsey towards the end of the game, and they had to bring in Logan Ryan, who didn't look all that great on some of those drives when Jair was out. But our secondary is going to be solid. We just need a couple more guys for depth, probably an outside cornerback so that Lenore can be more effective for us as a nickelback. I think when he played the best this season, it was at the nickelback position. We had to move him to the outside because Ambry Thomas just was not good. Was not good in the playoffs. He was giving up penalties, giving up not a ton of catches, but like some big plays on penalties in those two games.
So it's interesting that we took Moody in the draft and went to the Super Bowl with a drafted kicker. And I mean, yeah, that could have been the difference. The miss could have been the difference in the game.
He didn't miss it. It was blocked.
Not really. Yeah.
If you watched did you rewatch it?
I did.
Yeah. So the
But he kicks really
linebacker
low.
They still
Scott-
consider it a miss. But yeah.
He does have a tendency, guys, to kick low. Ortiz, you probably have
I
more
think
knowledge
overall,
about this than
though,
I
he
do.
did great. And that's what I was going to say is that,
He broke a record
yeah,
during the
dude,
game.
for like
He got the
30
longest
minutes, he
field
had the
goal.
record.
ever. For 30 minutes, he broke a record.
Yeah.
He had the longest field goal ever, which was 55
And
yards.
he had two separate go-ahead field goals. We had the lead right before the fourth quarter. The Chiefs tied it. We got the lead in the overtime to begin with, and then the Chiefs had that touchdown. And yeah, so I don't think the game was too big for him. I think he handled the pressure well. I mean, that 55.
If that's what he did his rookie season, he's
beautiful.
going to do just fine, I think. Right?
He did well for his rookie season. I think
Yeah.
he's going to be a lot better. I think
Just needs
Brock
to be more
Purdy is going to
consistent.
step up and be a little more of a take charge of the game type of quarterback. I think he's going to be
needs
given
to.
more opportunity to look at the line of scrimmage, see the defense, and make line calls that are going to, prevent things
Yeah.
like what happened in the Super Bowl from happening again.
Jordan Love's already doing it, but I can't compare the two because Jordan Love's been in the league longer.
That's what I
but
was going to say.
He's,
actually.
he's allowed to do it over there. I don't know if Kyle
Couple
wants
years.
Kyle doesn't allow. He wants the quarterback to think about other things, and that's a problem I have with Kyle's offense, honestly. Because imagine if we brought in an offensive coordinator. Well, when you see Brock Purdy go up to the line, there's going to be a lot more communication. He's going to be telling guys where people are. All the calls that you see Joe Montana made, or like, anyone that's in that type of scheme where you like look at Mahomes when he goes up there. He's up there. He can call an audible if he needs to.
Yeah.
He can tell people, "Hey, there's two guys that are about to blitz me on the right." Brock Purdy does not do that because that stuff is all stuff that they want the center to make those calls. I just disagree with that. I think that we actually need to change.
You're
that.
right.
It would help us with hurry up offense. It would help us with having to make spike the ball. Come on, everyone, line up and spike the ball.
I would love him to run some hurry up offense.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I think Kyle Shanahan has to let for that relationship with him and Purdy to grow and to prosper. You have to have some faith in him too, where you let him make some decisions because again, he's up there. He sees everything also. And sometimes quarterbacks just have a feel for things. Like Joe Montana in the Super Bowl calling an audible and throwing 37-yard touchdown to Jerry Rice against the Denver Broncos, which play that coincidentally Brett Favre stole. But he called up the same exact audible. But you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you got to give that quarterback some sort of leeway so he can develop. And we want him, because the one thing about Purdy that you gentlemen know is he seems so smart in his decision making.
Yeah.
Who's to say that he can't be like a Drew Brees or
Peyton Manning, like would
I know
definitely.
I didn't want to say it, but I want to say it. Or Peyton Manning. That's what I want from the kid, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's what you guys want too, because he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes throwing left-handed and right-handed and under his legs and spinning a ball backwards. And there's no one. Patrick Mahomes at a completely different level than everyone else.
Yeah.
His way of competing has to be with his mind. I think you both would agree.
Yep. And I just want to say, we will still speak with Damon and have him come in, because he did say he would do another podcast with us. And right now we are just kind of devastated from the loss, and I haven't really acted on that. But let's look forward to next year. It's been 4 out of 6 years we've gone to the championship game, fellas. That's not too bad. I mean, the Niners
will be there again next year, I bet too.
The Stick Niner Empire
believe that.
podcast will take you there all the way with the best content available online without any commercials so far. And I just want to say thank you to Mr. Iron Mike Arango and Lucas Ortiz for joining me
guys.
here. And
Great season.
We've had a great run. Let's keep it going. Let's go Niners.
Go Niners. Stay faithful.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so you know when the show comes up next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll have that
Absolutely,
draft
guys.
show, and you guys can teach me how that works.
Definitely gotta have a draft show.
All right, guys.
Everyone,
waver, faithful.
congratulations
Stay
on
true.
a great season, guys.
Yeah.
See you guys next season.
All right,
Go
go Niners.
Niners.